Welcome, friends and masked vigilantes. Prepare to be whisked away to countries unknown. It's another rule-bending episode of the Info Hazard Podcast Show. I'm your host, David, here with my buddies Phil and Dan. Hi, guys.
That's our names. Hello.
We prepped our segments totally independent. We did not consult each other except a little bit. And it turns out we all chose immigration, so we got a bit of a theme going this week.
Yeah,
How
I think
odd.
Danny said it best. A couple of frog bros starting a podcast about how warm the water is getting in the pot.
Exactly. So yeah, it's going to be a warm, fuzzy, dripping wet episode. And I guess we're going to start with you, Phil, right?
Yeah, let's do it.
The port of entry.
I think that makes sense because I got a bit of an update to our research from last week. Last week, we talked about scrotum, the risk assessment model to determine just how bad the Trump presidency is and how dangerous it is. And one of our key takeaways is that it seems like the most successful lines of resistance to the Trump administration so far have been the courts. And I got a little update on that. So on June 27th, the Supreme Court...
Then, how's it hanging, Phil? When it comes to the scrotum model?
Okay.
Dangling on by a thin vein?
Things are heating up, you know?
Yeah, which means they're lowering.
The sperm
Is that
count.
a lowered threat level? See, the metaphor, the metaphor doesn't make sense, like, because the heat expansion kind of, I don't know if that's good or bad.
The model's
Do you
rock
You
want-
just gotta
do you wanna-
recontextualize your mental model, dude. You start measuring at the bottom up to the top, dude.
Okay, so, like, if you were the most safe...
All motion is relative, dude. In one frame of motion, the scrotum is at rest, and you're moving upwards, dude.
Okay. I think the higher the temperature is, the more vulnerable you are. You want to keep those testes high and tight. Pack them in there so they can't. They're not vulnerable to Trump or whatever.
There's something.
In his vicious wingtip
Coming
kicks.
for your testicles, dude.
Wham!
Okay, for people who
Okay.
didn't watch last episode, what the hell are you talking about?
Let's not explain anymore.
Yeah, no.
On June 27th, the Supreme Court, one of the few remaining checks on Trump's power, ruled that federal courts could not issue nationwide injunctions, which effectively renders any sort of judgment they would render on an illegal executive order pointless. So some details. This was a 6-3 ruling. So all the conservative appointed justices voted for this, and all the liberal appointed justices dissented. Speaking of dissents, got a little quote here from Justice Sotomayor from her dissent that she wrote. She called the decision nothing less than an open invitation for the government to bypass the Constitution. Which I'd have to agree,
Oof.
because
That
if
doesn't
you-
sound good.
yeah, no, it sounds pretty bad. Like, basically, if you make a legal executive order, like the court finds that the executive order you made was illegal, like in the case they were talking about was the birthright citizenship rollback. So the 14th Amendment says that anyone born in this country is a citizen of the United States. The legacy of that is slavery. So that's the reasoning behind it. The Trump presidency said, actually, we don't want anyone illegal being born here. So those people were revoking their birthright citizenship, which, as you notice, is the opposite of what the Constitution says. So the courts were this court was like, hey, that's an unconstitutional order. And the Supreme Court says, maybe it was, maybe it wasn't, but just because you think it's unconstitutional doesn't mean your judgment matters for the whole country. So now, I guess we have a system where if there's an illegal executive order, then in order to not comply with it, you have to take it before a court individually and have the court agree with you that it was unconstitutional, but everyone else has to still comply with it.
So I've listened to some of I actually was like washing dishes, listening to the arguments in front of the justices from last month. One point that they made, like, I'm not sure what to make of this because I'm not a lawyer and I don't have time to actually like read all this stuff. But it seems like basically their expectation is that class actions still work. Like the rule wasn't just that nationwide injunctions are totally unallowed. The rule is that like nationwide injunctions are allowed if that's necessary to remedy the defendant, which like could be the case in a class action. And so like, like immediately after this ruling, just like a bunch of lawyers in these cases all over the country, they're like, okay, they filed new paperwork. And it's like, it's not clear if it is like, yes, the open invitation to violate the Constitution, or if it's more like, oh no, you need to file lawsuits as class action instead. And I've heard different opinions, obviously, from the Supreme Court justices, but even like left-leaning legal commentators have had mixed opinions on this one.
Okay, so basically, if you file it as a class action, the protected class in this case for the birthright citizenship would be people born in this country of parents of, questionable legal status in the country.
I guess.
What I'm getting from this is we really need to add a fourth member to this podcast who's a lawyer, dude.
Oh my God, yes.
Lawyers in the comments, if you want to join the show, leave a comment. We'd love to maybe consider having you.
Well, so apparently there are 30 days for them to reformulate the rules. So the executive paused rulemaking to actually implement their executive order. And the court gave them 30 days to make the rules. I've seen multiple like opinion pieces of this and like or like debates between like two liberal lawyers where they both see it differently. What's the guy like Glenn Kirshner, liberal lawyer who with a YouTube channel who's gets on like MSNBC and stuff. He's like, this is an administrative change. It's confusing. It's an administrative thing. It's like the Supreme Court saying, pick up this piece of paper, not that piece of paper. And then like meanwhile, someone else that he's talking to is like, no, they finally did it. They ended democracy. Like another lawyer, right? Like, or like George Conway, he's like, this is like, it's not good, but it's not as bad as we think.
So you're telling us getting one lawyer is not even enough then?
We need a series of bickering lawyers.
Okay,
look,
dude,
I mean,
wait. What if we got like the 9 smartest lawyers in the country together, dude? And then we put them all together in a room and they could like think about like what the true meaning of the law is, dude, and they could help us like decide?
Right. Yeah. I have a better idea. How about we do kind of like a similar plan, but we take like the most partisan version of those lawyers, and if they agree through a series of bribes to do whatever the president who appointed them wants, then we'll get those people, and then it'll just be sort of a luck of the draw, like, who dies and who gets a presidential term at the right time when someone dies.
This is a brilliant idea, Phil.
Dude, yeah, that sounds way better. I don't know what
we should try that. Yeah. The lawyers are still hard at it though, right? Like lots of new, paperwork has been filed in the wake of this, and the battle is not over by any means.
Yeah.
Even if
is that
if
how you
setback.
think the Trump presidency is going to take this legal ruling? Because I think they're going to take it as a blank check to do whatever the fuck they want. Like they don't need to worry about the pretense anymore.
I mean, I think that they are always going to just push everything as far as they can get away with, and this like
allows them to
gives
push
them
it way further.
Gives them so look. Children being born in America, U.S. citizens, young children have been deported, right? Like American citizens have been deported. So there are abuses ongoing, and in some cases, the legal system moving slowly helps protect them or helps slow down the administration. In some cases, it slows down their receiving justice.
Right, but that's not their end point, That's just part of it. That's not what they ultimately want, is to just deport people who come to the country illegally. They want to quash dissent and lock up any sort of
brilliant and
disagreeing.
handsome podcasters who might criticize them.
Yeah, I mean, they want to do what every authoritarian wants to do. They want to
You can't
crush
walk up
the
this
opposition
swag.
and in any means necessary. And this is one step on the way to imprisoning or exiling people without legal recourse.
Well, it's one attempt, but I mean the legal recourse is still happening, right? Like the fights are
But that's
still
the thing. No, it's
ongoing.
not. like they
Yes,
said
what do you mean?
they
Well,
they said like you're it doesn't apply anymore. Like you can rule that like an executive order is unconstitutional and it doesn't apply to the country.
Well, they said it's like you have to be involved in the case, right? So it might just be the case that like the lawyers like then file like, as all immigrants who are affected by Trump's, illegal order, and it doesn't actually change anything. Like it might be something we have to like wait and see.
right.
how it
Or
plays
apparently a state, some states have been filing, and so like a state might be able to. I think like what they said is like that
if it's unconstitutional, it should apply to every state. If Louisiana doesn't file something, it doesn't change the fact
Right.
that it's an unconstitutional order. But if they don't put in the legwork to say this order is unconstitutional, they just get to live in a new world where the president has made a new unconstitutional law that they have to follow.
Sorry.
Like
What?
So he's saying if only California sues to block some Trump nonsense, but Louisiana doesn't, then it may not apply.
Louisiana takes the
Sure.
executive order as law.
Right. So a couple things. One is, so I think the rule is with nationwide injunctions is that like judges can still do them if it's necessary to to make things right by the plaintiffs in the case. And in the case of a state, since there's lots of random interstate considerations when it comes to citizenship, like, okay, what if someone is born in Louisiana and then they come to California? Right? Okay, now it's a federal issue, and to fully fix it for the people who are in California or for the state of California, they need to rule the whole law unconstitutional, which the Supreme Court can still do, right? Or a class action. So those are the two avenues that I've heard mentioned by lawyers where this can still be, contested, and where it's actively being contested. The fight over, say, birthright citizenship is still very much active, and it's not only for people who are lawyering up. There are going to be class actions.
I just don't think that's like, I mean, that is the way that some people are approaching the situation. That, the people who see this as an administrative change are going to file the next series of lawsuits and keep that process going. In the meantime, the president has sort of a free hand to do what he wants.
I mean, everything that he does that's wildly illegal will be legally challenged, right? And so, yes, I think the change is now district courts can't issue nationwide injunctions unless it's a class action or unless it's like necessary in the way that the court said, which I remember in arguments they talked about things that might qualify as that, but I don't remember. So, yeah, I mean, this doesn't mean that now he can do whatever he wants. I just don't see that. Like the fights are still ongoing, and he's losing and winning fights all over the place all the time.
Right.
Yeah, we'll have to see how it plays out, if they actually are really harsh with the limitations on injunctions, or if they mostly let it ride and it is just an administrative change.
The legal fights go on, but the harm continues. People are still getting
Definitely
disappeared and families torn apart. I think it's more important than ever to focus on political action outside of the courts. And I think part of that is important is the abolition of ICE. I think the current manifestation of this law enforcement organization, is that the word I was going for maybe?
Agency?
Yeah, this agency, it's not, it's outgrown its usefulness as a law enforcement agency. It's become just like a force of state terror that doesn't serve the interest of the people.
Well,
so yeah,
the Trump big beautiful bill is going to increase the ICE budget by $167 billion. So that's pretty far from abolishing it.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, abolish is a very weird word for this. It's a government agency, right? Like, I feel like you can abolish like personal like activities by private people, right? Like they abolished murder, but like abolishing an agency is just like a reorg, unless you're like changing the laws or like deciding that they are not going to enforce things, right?
Just getting
Like
rid of the agency, like however you want to.
Sure, but like, okay, do you think that, immigration and customs laws should be enforced? Forget how they do it, just like in general, like you do, right? Probably we should stop people at the border as they walk in and check their paperwork and make
I
them
don't know, man.
apply for
I
asylum if that's what they
you
should
saying
do.
that you weren't a big fan of borders. One of the early
I mean, yeah, that's like,
episodes.
I mean, in a
Why should it be taken as
in an
rote
abstract,
that I think that immigration policy should be
I was just
followed?
asking.
I
I'm
kind of
asking.
don't.
I'm not okay. Policy is okay. There's lots of policies. I'm not saying every single policy, but like in general, laws. Like if we have laws about immigration and customs, like I don't know, people shouldn't be able to bring Bengal tigers like in at the border, right? Like whatever.
Is that a big problem?
Are Bengal tigers invasive?
I'm not saying. Let's say yes.
Damn, that's awesome, dude. I think we should change that. More Bengal tigers into the U.S., please.
Yeah.
Regardless whether you think we should be able to import Bengal tigers, whatever the rule is, should probably, if someone is breaking it and bringing in Bengal tigers, gay Bengal tigers, we just don't allow gay Bengal tigers, then like that should probably be enforced if that's the law, right?
Well, sure, but like
the famous "Fuck Siegfried and Roy" bill of 2024. No gay Bengal tigers may be imported. I mean, I just. Those who I associate with Bengal tigers.
Yeah. No, I think that like we don't need like this military force, like we need law enforcement to do this.
Right. So yeah, I mean, it depends on which parts. Being at the border or ports of entry and customs enforcement stuff. Okay, make sure the bag isn't full of cocaine, that sort of thing. Should be done in that place by that group of people. Maybe it's a TSA. I don't know. But
they do such a good job. We should expand their mandate, dude.
Right. I mean, so the thing.
Remember when you were like kind of advocating for sortition? I think there's a similar problem with
I still
ICE.
am.
The kind of people who would want to do the job are the last people we should have doing that job. The border agents, the people that like volunteer to do these extractions. Like these are
the ones who
not
mask up.
People that should be having these kind of jobs in society,
Totally. And so like I'd say like the culture in ICE is clearly screwed up.
Yeah.
It's obvious, and it's partly just like inherent to ICE. The job is to enforce laws against immigrants.
So like I think even if it is just a reorg, that's a good thing. Like if it is just like, okay, this is all highway patrol now. Just firing all those people is such a huge deal for the health and safety of the American people. Just get rid of all of them. Like they've proven themselves to be a danger to us.
All right. Yeah, I think that they definitely need reform.
Firing all of them is a pretty good reform.
That's one type. Yeah, I mean, you say we should focus on this. It's kind of interesting. Like, I think you're right. ICE needs substantially reformed, or maybe deformed and rebranded for sure. But I think the legal fight is the fight right now. This is like the center of the fight, and like now is a great time to donate to the ACLU.
Sure.
All right.
That's
I've got a rebrand idea for you guys.
Okay.
They could be called the new Immigrations and Custom Enforcement Agency, dude.
Nice, dude.
That's really good, because also like part of the point is like that they're not assholes.
Exactly.
Right? Not masked vigilantes.
Yeah. It would be nice if the ICE wasn't the people greeting people trying to enter this country. First impressions matter, and this sort of like evil paramilitary organization is not the sort of impression I would like to give to the rest of the world.
You're saying you don't want to detain Norwegians for having an image of J.D. Vance on their phone?
What do you think about that? So, like that's a bit of ephemera that's probably going to get lost in the churn of history. A Norwegian tourist came into this country and was stopped.
Well, he tried.
Okay. He attempted tourist. He got stopped by border agents and sent back to Norway because he had a meme of J.D. Vance on his phone of him kind of like, round-faced and
the famous bald J.D. Vance meme.
Yeah, exactly.
I haven't seen the famous
dude. So there's an info hazard in real life, dude.
Yeah.
by knowing about this meme and having it up on your phone, you get sent back to your home country.
Exactly.
Yeah, can't visit the U.S., dude, if you know about this meme. Or if you...
That's pathetic.
Right? We look like such humorless fucks, dude.
Yeah.
I thought we were supposed to be about free speech, and we can't even take, like, one badly photoshopped picture, dude.
Because we
Okay,
got these
Skin is that thin?
We got these snowflakes working in the border.
Seriously, dude. What happened to fuck your feelings? I guess it's only fuck your feelings, but my feelings are very precious. Must be protected. And JD Vance, dude.
It's what's known in the
How much
biz
should we-
as working towards the Fuhrer. Like, he probably wasn't explicitly told to protect JD Vance's feelings, but he probably saw that and thought, like, oh, the boss wouldn't like that. I'm going to send you back to Norway.
I mean, you know, JD Vance is going to be looking at this Norwegian guy's phone, dude. There's a high chance.
As much of a charisma vacuum as he doesn't strike me as like a dumb man, but I feel like he would be worried about getting Streisand affected if he put out like an order, like get rid of anyone with a JD Vance meme on their phone. Because like that's been the effect of this. Everyone around the world is showing like, what is the meme that like caused the guy to get kicked out of the US? Oh, it's right here. You know, on the floor of Irish Parliament, people are like waving around a printout of the meme. Like, is this what we want?
Unintended consequences, which is like the main constraint on the Trump administration, is reality.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'm donating to the ACLU. I'm gonna go with a $50 one time. I feel like
if you set
I
up
don't know,
a
every time they
recurring
kick
one,
butt-
then and you keep supporting them even when these sort of like these flights of fancy leave you.
Or
No.
when the flight of deportation takes you out of the country for running a subversive podcast.
Sorry, what? I already paid. Sorry, I got distracted.
Phil was talking about flights of fancy, so I was talking about flights of deportation.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm trying to think of some clever way by where people can share their own donation stories to ACLU and similar.
They could
similar
leave a comment, dude.
organizations.
Right below this video, they could hit the leave
would.
comment button.
If we get comments, then I'll donate more.
Ooh,
I will.
yeah.
I think that, the political fight is starting to happen for sure, or is ongoing, but the legal fights are all over right now. Yeah, just like the ACLU. Chuck Norris can walk around with his guns out because of the ACLU, man. So, we gotta
Chuck Norris,
gotta
dude. I haven't thought of
keep
Chuck
those
Norris.
lawyers.
I'll throw in a little money to the political fight, because
Fuck
I believe strongly in the abolition of ICE, and that's not something that's going to get litigated in the courts. That needs to be brought forward by public pressure. An organization that's working towards that goal is the DSA. So I'll throw in a 50 for the Democratic Socialists of America, because that's one of their stated political aims, and I support it, and I want to support them.
Damn right.
Nice.
Socialists, democratic socialists.
Okay. Now, let me just
You're
share
good.
screen. I'll get my credit card info.
There we go.
Yeah, mine definitely bugged out right then too.
This is good podcasting. I'll share screen and show me setting a calendar reminder to make the
donate.
donation after the recording, so my computer doesn't just shit the bed and die.
Anything
Yeah.
else, Phil?
Let's move
Okay.
on from.
I think we've about
From this.
juiced the speech. Let's move on to the next fruit.
Mhm.
What kind of fruit you got for us, David? Let's puree it.
The taco kind of fruit. How do I do this?
Are there any tacos that have fruit in them that are tasty? I had crickets in a taco
Avocado is a
one
fruit.
time.
Yeah, actually, I think like chapulines, right? Chapulines, that's the cricket tacos. No, but like a fruit taco, definitely. Like a fish taco with like a little mango in there.
There,
Yeah.
there you go.
That's good.
All right, guys. I got a top 5 list.
All right.
Okay. Handling
This
this
is-
topic with our signature tact.
Yeah, it's the Taco Bell dog. Yo quiero exploit immigrants. The top 5 abuses of undocumented immigrants that the U.S. is perpetrating. Coming in at number 5, scapegoating and dehumanizing. And I guess I need you guys to tell me when I'm wrong and stuff.
You're always wrong, dude.
obviously, thank you. Good, helpful.
No, sometimes you agree with me. So with those times,
Yeah, I mean, I find this frustrating because I eat dogs and I want more credit. Illegal
There you go.
immigrants don't generally eat dogs. I don't know if there's a single like documented case of this, so, but anyway, a notorious example of how an actual adjudicated rapist and convicted felon accused like a large community of being made of rapists and criminals.
Who could you be talking about, dude? It's baffling. Oh man.
I can't think of his name. I don't know.
If only he
has, like,
signed his tweets every time, dude. Middle initial and all.
Anyways,
You know what that means? That means you've yeah, well, you deserve thanks for your attention to this matter.
Hell yeah, dude.
Okay. Well, man. All right. Yeah, also, I mean, the widely held belief that immigrants cause economic harm to Americans, that there's this zero-sum competition for jobs. It's not true. It's not true. They pretty much help our economy. So, yeah, that's
What I understand are like people come in and they provide competition for jobs, but they also provide additional demand for services. So they're just
we're trying to grow the economy, dude. You know the number one grade to grow the economy is more people.
More people. So yeah, so Phil, excellent point. Yeah, to dig in a little bit, right. So people think they're just like competing over jobs, but they are also creating more demand, which creates more jobs. Also, they commonly are not competing for the same jobs that American workers want to have.
Like first lady, dude.
Yeah, no, God, I wouldn't want that. Anyway, okay. And with that, we'll move on to number 4. Any guesses? Too late. Taxing them unfairly.
That was my guess.
Good guess.
There's this smear going around that illegal immigrants are fiscal leeches, but they're basically the opposite. Here are a couple numbers. In 2022, it's estimated that $25.7 billion in Social Security taxes, $6.4 billion in Medicare taxes, and $1.8 billion in unemployment insurance taxes were paid by illegal immigrants, undocumented immigrants, who are ineligible to receive any of these benefits. So, next time grandma cashes her Social Security, thank Jesus.
Yeah, this one, this has the potential to change because of Republican policy, because like they're targeting migrants through the IRS, or at least that was the plan. So if you could potentially be captured by ICE if you pay taxes, that might disincentivize you to pay taxes.
Also, if you scare people away from their workplace, then they won't be producing. And so, yeah, this problem, like most problems, is going to be made worse by Trump's moronic policies. One other example was, a lot of undocumented workers arrive as adults. They're coming to work. So
don't even have to pay to educate them, dude. Wow, what a bargain.
You don't have to pay to exactly. Like the point is that when you're a kid, that's when, at the young and old phases of life is when you are a fiscal drain on society. And when you're in your prime working years is when you're putting money into the system. And so when immigrants are coming ready to work, for example, an undocumented worker arriving in 2022 who's aged 25 was expected to pay $200,000 more in taxes than they were going to receive in benefits. So not exactly a leech on our society. Quite the opposite, being exploited by America.
That's intuitive. I guess I'm trying to imagine the person like sitting around like at their home in Colombia who's like getting up there in years. They've had a good long life, and they think, where I'd like to retire? Somewhere where it's like really expensive to live and they treat me like shit. I'm gonna migrate to the US.
Well, we'll dig into some of why they might want to do that in some of our next ones. Meanwhile, scooching on to 3, the criminal injustice that we wreak upon our undocumented immigrants. This is just becoming worse and worse.
Well, yeah, it's a top 5 list. It's a top 5 list of bad things, though, so it's going to get worse if you've created the list right.
You didn't sneak in a fun one?
Right, yes. Tex-Mex is number 1 on the list. Anyways. Or nacho cheese. Like, it's not even cheese. Come on.
Cheese whiz is the number 1 way in which we abuse immigrants in America.
Hurtful memes.
Okay. Yeah. There's just too many things to even list here, and how, ICE, for example, just a super abusive agency with a culture of abuse and like basically the requirement that you be an asshole to get a job there. I'm assuming. I don't actually know any ICE agents.
If you disagree with this assessment, please leave a comment.
Yeah, any ICE agents, please let us know in the comments. Also, arrests that are like not related to any criminal conduct or suspicion, deportations to or concentration like camps even within the U.S., family separations. Of course, anyone who goes to jail is separated from their family, but when you're coming to a new country and you're separated from your family, you might not be able to find them again, which is a common problem encountered by immigrants getting screwed over by our criminal justice system. And we take their stuff, like including their documents, many cases of this being recorded. That sucks. Oh, we take their medicine, their necessary medicine. So then they end up, leeching on our hospitals, of course, because we made them, because we took their medicine. Boo.
Okay, so remember when RFK was gonna do health camps for people with autism and ADHD? Like,
I don't remember that, but
yeah,
sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, I have ADHD, and I was worried that I was going to be sent to a concentration camp.
Then you got distracted, right? Ha ha ha.
You were gonna sign up.
Because I have trouble concentrating, you see.
Okay, number 2. Fucking up their home countries. We talked about the old lady in Colombia and why she might want to leave. Tens to hundreds of billions of dollars of demand for illegal drugs coming from the United States has contributed significantly to the corruption and crime in these other countries, which is a large part of why they want to leave. We who says we don't have good, healthy exports in the U.S. and that we don't make anything anymore? We export guns, loads and loads of guns to South and Central America. About 40% of firearms recovered in Central America originated from the U.S.
They call it the Iron River. At least they do in Mexico.
Damn, that's metal as fuck, dude.
Isn't it? I mean, and it's a river full of guns, which is like super awesome.
Right. Inaction on climate change. I'll throw that one in there. I mean, not to mention.
Hey, wait.
Probably
you take that back, dude. We're making it way worse. We're not doing nothing.
All right.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, we're making it way worse. Right.
Right. We're obviously emitting loads and loads of greenhouse gases, and we just like have a habit of every time a Republican gets elected of just like tearing up any kind of useful international progress that's being made, and I guess taking a turd in the UN Plaza. This causes bigger problems in places that are coastal and warm already, like Central America, where they're having lots and lots of natural disasters, which is part of why people leave and come here. We also have a long history of coups and destabilizing bullshit multinational practice. Thus the coining of the phrase banana republic.
If you want to still like the U.S., don't look up the School of the Americas.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, I won't. Though we can't actually take full credit for how much Venezuela sucks, right? Like Venezuela they're kind of shooting themselves in the foot in there.
Yeah, but other countries have got a pretty big share in why they're fucked up. Like Honduras, for example.
We do our part. We really poop on our sphere of influence. All right, number 1 is taco cheese.
What? I want to guess. Should we guess, Phil?
The number 1 way that we fuck over immigrants.
I'm going to guess using them as
illegal
cheap labor.
Immigrants.
Yeah.
But you have to guess something different, so you can't guess that.
I'm going to guess that we're not very nice to them. Just interpersonal.
We hurt their feelings. That's right. That's why, okay. You have to have at least one. I couldn't come up with 5 things with a top 4 list. Doesn't really work. So this one is just kind of like all of everything together.
The classes, interpersonal dynamics and economic realities.
Exactly. A perpetual underclass, underpaid, overworked, exploited, under constant threat of legal problems. Yeah, we're really screwing over this group of people that is contributing to our country's well-being in a massive way. It's bullshit. Trump is full of shit.
If it makes you feel any
These people
better,
need a path to citizenship.
Like, this isn't, limited to people coming into the country. This is also exported all over the world,
That's true.
Our
That's our list for next week.
Requires this perpetual underclass in every nation.
That's true. The system is built on exploitation. You might think it's only abroad, but it's right here at home too. All right.
Fun. Da, 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 da. Yeah.
And of course, nacho cheese.
Yes.
Nothing's funnier than the perpetual underclass.
What do you think, guys? You disagree with any of my rankings?
I mean, it was a little bullshit that you put number one as everything all together, but, you know.
That was kind of cheating.
I respect that move. I like that.
It is still kind of interesting that they continue to come.
Yeah, I mean, shit's even worse other places.
Well, because
Yeah.
we export the exploitation as well as we maintain it at home. You could be exploited in the same system in Bolivia, or you could come here where your wages would be slightly higher.
Well, way higher.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know.
If you think we missed anything, or I missed anything, let us know in the comments. We look forward to debating you. And for our last segment, Danny.
All right.
Yeah,
Also
this
talking about immigration.
Yeah, well, the Supreme Court did a lot of immigration stuff this week, so now we got to talk about it. All right, so on June 3rd, I believe it was, the Supreme Court, June 23rd, said that Trump can deport migrants to countries that aren't their country without giving them a chance to try and be like, hey, don't do that, they're going to torture me there.
So, okay, so you researched this.
Yes.
What is the
Very
reasoning
thoroughly.
for deporting someone to a different country?
So it's when their own country won't take them back, which I didn't realize was like a thing that they could do.
Is that a requirement? Like before you can deport someone to a third country, you need like paperwork saying that from their home country saying
maybe
we don't want
currently.
them.
I'm not sure what the like actual requirements are, but so far that's what they've said is that these are the people that their home country won't take.
Okay. All right. At least there is like some use case for this thing. Because when I heard about this, I was like, that's just needlessly cruel and unusual. It's like way more unusual than it is cruel.
It's like putting the unusual in cruel and unusual.
Like, well, you're from China, off to Djibouti with you. Like, why?
It's crazy. It's actually crazy that you chose that example because that's where they are right now while they figure it out. So
I did know that, but I mean, I probably
okay.
would have picked it anyways because, you know, it is just a comedy name pull for a country.
And with the best sounding gadonk.
yeah. But so anyway, this happened because some guys from Myanmar and Vietnam and maybe some other countries were getting deported to South Sudan, which is a country that was very recently, it's like the newest country in Africa because it was created out of a violent civil war, which is minorly ongoing. The State Department says Americans should not go there. There's a level 4 travel advisory due to crime, kidnapping, and armed conflict.
It's the newest UN country, right?
Yeah. And so now, previously, there had been an injunction which said that if they were going to deport you to a third country, they had to give you a chance to like prove or to like argue that if you don't want to go, that they were going to do something bad to you there. But now they don't have to do that. So they can just ship you to South Sudan or wherever.
Was this one of those nationwide injunctions that are...
It was actually. It was one of the first ones. Yeah. So Justice Sotomayor in her dissent, I believe it was another 6-3 ruling. What a coincidence. What a strange that those numbers come up, dude.
That's how the cookie keeps crumbling.
I mean, it must be different 6 and different 3 every time, right? Because, you know, they're just carefully considering the legal, you know, not just consulting their politics, of course.
No.
But she said that the court is rewarding lawlessness with a decision that will undermine the foundational principle of due process, and said, apparently the court finds the idea that thousands will suffer violence in far-flung locales more palatable than the remote possibility that a district court exceeded its remedial powers when it ordered the government to provide notice and process to which the plaintiffs are constitutionally and statutorily entitled. That use of discretion is as incomprehensible as it is inexcusable. Of course, the Trump administration responded with their usual comic dickheadishness. The DHS said, DHS can now execute its lawful authority and remove illegal aliens to a country willing to accept them, and ended with, fire up the deportation planes. So that was in an official government communication, really showing that they're taking things seriously, not just reveling in human suffering or anything. That's excellent.
Going to be interesting. I mean, so CCOT, is there proof of torture there?
Well, it's like pretty secretive, so they haven't been able to get much out. Phil was saying when he researched it that they just like don't release people from there.
Kind of a black box.
It'll be kind of interesting to see like when and if serious human rights abuses are taking place to the people who we've deported this way.
I think if any information comes out, it's probably going to be through guards, basically, because like people don't get out typically. Though, Kilmar Abrego Garcia is in the U.S. now, I believe. Like, he's being detained and held for, like, a court date. So I guess he would know something about what goes down. He wasn't there for very long. But we also have, like, a bunch of people still there, right? Like, a bunch of people that just, like, didn't...
Supposedly from this Venezuelan gang, but I'm not sure I trust the Trump admin's word on this.
It's the thing. They didn't get a court date, so we can't verify anything about them. Really.
Just taking the liar's word for it.
Oh.
But so, while they're, battling this out in court, the people who had been sent to South Sudan were being held in a shipping container on a Navy base in Djibouti, where they're being guarded by 11 ICE agents. So, really financial efficiency there, sending these 11 ICE agents to fucking Africa. But so here's the silver lining in this story to me.
Is that within 40 miles of the border?
Yeah.
I'm not really big on geography.
I mean, it's probably something where, like, the Navy base has an airport, so it counts as a border, right?
Oh my
Because,
God.
like, 90% of America lives within a, like, warrantless border zone because airports count as borders.
Yeah, if it's an American military base, I guess by some definition, for some purposes, it's U.S. soil. So that's weird. I guess they get to go to any military base.
Yeah, but okay, so the ICE officers were complaining they were unable to take anti-malarial medication for up to 72 hours after arriving. And they've experienced coughing, difficulty breathing, fever, and achy joints. And they've also been warned by defense officials that they're in imminent danger of rocket attacks from terrorist groups. And they do not have body armor or other gear to put on in case of an attack.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's all think
position.
about these poor ICE agents stuck there,
Is all like the body armor just deployed to Los Angeles?
Yeah, I guess it's busy.
They have tanks. They should be prepared for this exact situation. That's like one of the few times when their budget actually would have some sort of sense, being deployed to a war zone.
Wish it didn't take personal experience for people to see it, but, like, if this is how they learn that the people running the show are incompetent, then maybe they'll actually take it to heart and not vote for them next time.
I mean, what do you think Trump's vote share in ICE was, dude? Do you think any ICE agents voted for Kamala?
Probably.
If you're a Kamala voting ICE agent, please leave a comment.
Kanye is a Nazi, so
That's true.
Definitely ICE agents for Kamala, like at least a couple. If someone who's black can be a Nazi, then someone who's in ICE can vote for a Democrat.
Sure.
Yeah. I think that's like less ideologically inconsistent than Kanye being a Nazi.
I think that, like, it's definitely possible that ICE agents voted for Kamala because, I mean, she was just going to be a continuation of the Biden administration, which made, like, a lot of use of ICE. I bet they probably felt perfectly fine under the Biden presidency.
Right. I mean, not to mention, they're probably not the strongest multiple choice test takers, not the sharpest crayons.
Just reading
in the
comprehension is an issue, so...
Just like, does D the first letter in Kamala? Probably.
Man, you remember the old days of Kanye, though, when he said, like, George Bush doesn't care about black people on live TV, and that was a scandal?
That was great.
I don't remember that. That was a scandal?
Yeah, dude, back in the days of tame scandals, the Bush administration.
Oh my gosh, this sounds so boring.
It was like some telethon for Hurricane Katrina, and, like, they were trying to raise money, and Kanye just butts in with George Bush doesn't care about black people.
And
I forget who his co-host was. It
Mike
was like
Myers.
Yeah, he just looks at him with this, like, stunned look. Everyone should look up this clip. It's hilarious.
He interrupts him, right? He's talking about,
it's
like
right
out of
now,
nowhere, like
completely.
thousands of people are trapped on floating debris. George Bush doesn't care about black people. Okay. That's a good one.
This was before he went up and tried to, like, take Taylor Swift's Grammy and give it to Beyonce or something.
That's another classic Kanye moment from the distant past. Yeah, I don't remember which one happened first.
Yeah.
I hope
You got the
controversies
order
don't,
right,
like,
David.
I hope things don't keep trending in this direction, or else, like, in a couple of years, he'll be like, just like, I don't know, crucifying immigrants in his his pad.
Or he's just going to go the other way again, dude. He's going to be like trying to abolish private property, and, he's going to be a leveler.
Yeah,
or something.
He'll horseshoe theory. He's gone so fascist that he'll come out communist, and then
Yeah, well, we're all looking forward to Kanye's next adventures and his intellectual journey.
Next, like Kanye next year.
All right, another successful episode of Info Hazard. I don't know about you guys, but I learned something and it hurts.
Oh, dude, it hurts so bad.
All right. Till next time, go outside. Don't leave
If
me.
you know a meme that can get you kicked out of your country, put it in the comments. Let us know at infohazardshow@gmail.com.
If you want to make sure
Get
that
on a
we don't come to
VPN.
your country.
Right.
Wait, can we prevent people from coming to the U.S. by sending them that J.D. Vance meme, dude?
Yeah, then it would truly be an info hazard. Like if we could ambush people with this information and they get kicked out.
You just email it to him, dude, and the ICE agent's going through their phone. He sees the J.D. Vance meme, dude, right back out of the country.
There you go.
Lots of practical uses.
There's a banger episode of Info Hazard. Welcome to the. I love you. Goodbye.
Italian? There was one spicy
Mamma
episode. Mamma mia.
I'm from Ireland. Gabagool.
What?
No, don't deport me. I'm from Italy.
Italy.
Not to Djibouti.